therapist Kristen Jacobson.
Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the anxiety therapist, and a few days ago my friend sent me a video that included Amy Poehler talking about this idea of functional freeze. And I think it's a topic that will probably hit close to home for most of us. So do you ever find yourself kind of smashing through tasks all day, like you're this productivity machine, and then you come home and you just kind of collapse into this non-functional heap? This phenomenon is referred to as functional freeze, and it's a lot more common than you might think. So I just want to spend some time breaking it down, talking about what it is, why it happens, and some ways that we can manage it. So functional freeze is a state where individuals are super productive and over-functioning during the day, but then they experience this shutdown or collapse when they get home. And it's sort of like your brain and body are in overdrive for so many hours, and then suddenly they hit the brakes. And so this can look like binge watching TV, scrolling endlessly on your phone, feeling kind of numb or unable to move, feeling like you need to go to sleep, things like that. To understand why this happens, we need to look at the nervous system, and particularly what we call the autonomic nervous system, which is responsible for regulating our involuntary physiological functions. And so there are two main branches to this. There's the sympathetic nervous system, and you can think of this as like your body's accelerator. So it's responsible when we go into that fight or flight response, when we're under stress or pressure. This branch kicks in, it increases our heart rate, it pumps adrenaline, it really gets us ready to tackle whatever is in front of you. The parasympathetic nervous system is your body's brake. So this controls the rest and digest functions, which calms us down and conserves our energy. So when we're in this state, our body has the ability to engage in physiological responses that are not required to keep us safe. Whereas the sympathetic nervous system, it's more about survival and keeping us safe. Think about like an animal that's being chased by a predator. They're either going to fight back or they're going to flee. So during a high stress day, your sympathetic nervous system is in overdrive, right? It's keeping you alert and active. But then when you finally stop, then the parasympathetic can sort of overcompensate, and it causes this sudden drop in energy and leads to that sort of frozen, collapsed state. So why does functional freeze happen? When we're constantly stressed, our bodies stay in a state of what we call hyperarousal. And so this means our sympathetic nervous system is constantly activated, leading to elevated cortisol levels. And that's the stress hormone, if you're not familiar. Over time, this state can become exhausting and it depletes our energy reserves. And so when we finally do get a chance to rest or allow ourselves a chance to rest, a lot of times, the clients I work with, they have a hard time allowing themselves to rest. Then our bodies might overreact, sort of shutting down to recuperate. So throughout a busy day, your body is pumping out adrenaline and cortisol to keep you going. But when you stop, those levels crash, and this can leave you feeling really drained. So it's sort of like you're running on fumes and then you're suddenly running out of gas. Decision fatigue can also play a role. So if you are making decisions all day long, this can contribute to functional freeze, because by the time you get home, the mental bandwidth that you've used is, your brain is just worn out, right? That mental energy required to make even simple decisions is depleted. And so this can lead to a state where it's really, really hard to muster the energy to do anything else. What are some examples of functional freeze? What does this actually look like? One would be like the overachieving professional, right? So you have someone who is maybe a project manager and excels at their job and manages multiple products, attends endless meetings, always available to their team. And then once they get home, they are unable to cook dinner or even watch TV, and might just lie on the couch and just kind of feel completely paralyzed. Another example is the super parent. So imagine a parent who juggles a full-time job and the demands of being a parent to 2 young kids. Days are filled with work tasks, school runs, endless activities, and then when the kids are finally in bed, the parent just kind of collapses, unable to do anything but mindlessly scroll through their phone. This is definitely something I have experienced, and I was just telling my husband last night that it's like I am really non-functional after 8 p.m., which is typically when my kids are in bed. Number 3 is the student extraordinaire. So let's say there's a college student who takes a full course load, participates in extracurriculars, and also maintains a part-time job. So they're on the go from morning until night, and when they finally get back to their dorm room, they're too exhausted to study or socialize, and so they just binge watch Netflix until they fall asleep. So those are a few examples of how functional freeze actually manifests in our day-to-day. So some ways to manage functional freeze is to, 1, prioritize self-care. And it's really important to incorporate this into your daily routine to prevent burnout. A lot of times we think about self-care as like a manicure, pedicure, or a massage, or a vacation. And those are great. Those are forms of self-care, but really we want these to be daily habits, right? So it might mean taking short breaks during the day, or taking a few minutes to meditate or practice mindfulness, or engage in an activity that is restorative and sort of rejuvenates you. Number 2 is to set boundaries. So we need to learn how to say no and set boundaries in order to preserve our energy. So this can really help reduce the stress load and prevent our sympathetic nervous system from constantly being in that activated state. Number 3 is to practice some deep breathing or relaxation techniques. So this can include breathing exercises, meditation, progressive muscle relaxation, anything that's going to activate that parasympathetic nervous system and help your body transition from high alert to relaxation more smoothly. Number 4 is to create a transition routine. So I know this was something that sort of went by the wayside during the pandemic, and with a lot of people working from home, we don't really transition from work mode to home mode anymore. Everything's kind of blended together. So create a routine that helps. It's almost like a commute, even if you're not, driving in a car or riding on a train. It helps your brain, it sends a signal to your brain that it's time to transition from work mode to home mode. So this could include a short walk, just changing your clothes, listening to a certain type of music, any consistent routine that signals to your brain and body that it's sort of time to switch gears. And then finally, seek professional help. So if functional freeze is significantly impacting your life, consider seeking help from a professional, a therapist. And, we can really work with you to provide strategies and support tailored to your unique experience and demands, which will ultimately help you manage stress and improve your overall well-being. So I hope this was helpful. I would love to know if you've experienced functional freeze and what that looks like for you, how you kind of check out. And then if there are any other tips that I didn't mention that you have found helpful to sort of manage this state. All right, I will see y'all next week.